We got JR. It's Les and Jake. What's happening?
What's going on? How are you?
Man, we're in San Diego. I don't know if you heard about the procession. We had about 300 police cars here this morning.
I saw
all the lights lit up.
Yeah, I saw that. What was that for exactly?
It was the policeman that was shot last week. They had a
okay.
whole ceremony for him this morning. So, but I'm noticing the sides of the police cars, and there's Palm Springs Police, LAPD, Riverside. I mean, they came from a bunch of counties. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, a Blue Guard. My cousin is a police officer in New York City. My best friend in college is a police officer in New York City as well. And, you know, like, the people that wear blue, they always support each other, and they should, as they should.
Yeah. Well, we all know there's good and bad people of all kinds. To think that all cops are bad, you're probably doing some dirt, you know. You probably got something to hide.
That's right. Well, you know, there are just good and bad people in this world. And some become police officers.
I tell people, without laws and police, we'd look like Afghanistan or something.
It would be chaos, absolute chaos.
So, tell us how the tour is going so far.
Yeah, so far, I haven't punched anybody in the face, so pretty good, pretty good.
No arrests yourself?
No arrests. We're trying to keep a clean arrest record for this 2016 at least.
So now you're in the home stretch, out on the West Coast, San Diego, San Francisco,
Pomona,
LA, and then Oregon, I guess Vegas.
Yeah, there's a Vegas play, and maybe there's an Idaho in there somewhere. Yeah, there's not too many shows left.
I guess you got to brace yourself for the heat in Phoenix and Vegas.
Yeah, thank God that's
isn't hot enough in San Diego.
Vegas is supposed to be hotter than Phoenix was yesterday, and yesterday was 107, I think. So it's whatever. What are you gonna do? It's Warped Tour. It's summertime. We're used to this.
It comes with the territory. You know what you're signing up for.
That's right. That's right.
You guys are based where, Florida?
Yes, Gainesville, Florida, actually.
Okay, great. Now, how do you basically prepare for a tour like this? Obviously, you've done it before, so you kind of know how to hydrate and all that. But what advice do you have to the bands embarking on their first tour like this?
Take naps. Naps are important. Eat food. That's probably the thing where people screw up the most because it gets so hot. You don't eat. You don't want to eat because it's so hot, but you have to eat food or you will die. Yeah. Literally. And yesterday's a lot of people fell out because of the heat and not drinking enough, you know. But other than that, like, try not to take this all too seriously. It only lasts for 6 weeks. You know, I think a lot of people create more of it what it actually is, you know.
I mean, you got catering waiting for you. Why don't you take advantage?
Yeah, you got to go, man. Even though you got to go stand in the line for it, you know, go stand in that line. It's there.
Yeah. I mean, what an operation. At least you don't got to make 2,700 meals a day, right?
Yeah, I mean, trying to find food out here, in some of these places, it would be impossible. So, like I said, they do a good job on Warped, for sure.
Take us inside the creative process of Les and Jake. People come in with ideas, you kind of hash it out. How do the songs come together?
It's usually just basic ideas that form, and then we kind of bring it into the group, and, you know, Vinny writes lyrics, our drummer, and then Chris and Raj will figure out some stuff, and they'll try and bash it out in the warehouse, and then we'll add some horns to it. I don't know, it's kind of different for each song how things kind of work, but it's very collective, it's a group effort, and that's not common in a lot of bands, but that's how we do it, you know.
Well, you know, you got to find the chemistry, what works, you know, and, you know, I know it's important to keep coming up with new music. You know, nobody wants to be looked at as the retro act, you know, you always got to have something new.
Nobody wants to be a legacy act these days, I guess, so.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, Gainesville, interesting place to be based. You guys have always been from there, and it's just kind of home, keeps you rooted?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bands that are from Gainesville. I don't know how many people know. Bo Diddley was from Gainesville. Tom Petty from Gainesville originally. Yeah, Sister Hazel, Against Me, Hot Water Music, all from Gainesville, Florida, like us. So it's, I think it's the college, and it's just kind of a revolving group of people in and out.
Jacksonville with Skinnerd and all that.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Florida's got a rich history. Georgia, rich history.
A lot of good music down there, for sure.
Yeah, somebody was just telling me about they did a session over at Muscle Shoals. You know, I know there's some heralded studios.
Oh yeah.
You know, all the soul music, all that great stuff.
A lot of those studios start closing down now because, you know, just that time period is gone. You know, it's like kind of like the dinosaur age, you know, when it comes to that stuff. So it's kind of sad, but it's also kind of exciting, you know, new future, new era.
It is, you know, and I always tell the young bands, you know, learn about the forefathers, grow some roots, respect your elders, you know. A lot of people think it's started in the 80s, you know, but when you talk about a Bo Diddley or a Little Richard or Chuck Berry, these guys blazed the trail 50, 60 years ago for what we're doing now.
Yeah, of course, because there wasn't rock and roll prior to that. It just, that was the incarnation of blues
Yeah.
at that point. So, you know, it's cool to see where music's gone. It's cool to see where it started, where it comes to, at least modern, like, rock and roll, I guess. And, you know, it moves on, it carries on. And so I definitely am a firm supporter of all the younger bands that are out here that are trying to do their thing, and I think it's awesome, you know? Like, why hate? It's not my time. I had my time. It was awesome, you know? Like, I try not to be one of those guys that looks at younger bands that goes, I don't understand it. I try to understand it, you know? It just takes a little time.
You gotta keep an open mind.
Yeah, it takes a little time, and sometimes that's hard. The older you get, the more set in your ways you become, you know? So, but it's good. This tour is good. We're having a good time. It's great.
Now, speaking of the hometown boy, Tom Petty, had quite a history of songs, you know, quite a catalog, you know, with the Heartbreakers there. But again, it's kind of interesting that he reached back to his Mudcrutch buddies, who he had the band before the Heartbreakers. I mean, I guess at that point in your career, you can kind of do what you want, but you know, it's great to see people making music for the sake of making music rather than, you know, what's hot, what's a hit, and all that. How is Tom revered back in Gainesville?
Yeah, I mean, there's a set of apartments named Wildflower, you know, I mean, so every time you drive down 441, you think of American Girl, you know, so I mean, it's, you know, it's one of those, it's known, but it's not spoken a lot until somebody asks, you know, but of course, like, whenever...
There's not a statue or anything like that?
No, there's nothing like that. There's a plaza downtown named after Bo Diddley. That's kind of cool. But no, I mean, like, we played there in town, and like the Heartbreakers dudes that were in town, and they came to see us play a few times, and like they're very supportive. Like I said, it's kind of it's a good music scene there.
Yeah.
You know,
Mike,
even though they're more based
Campbell
out of LA now,
and those guys.
Yeah, even though they're more based out of out of LA now, when they still have family there, and they still have houses and stuff.
I got a little Bo Diddley story for you. I actually was part of the team that put on the Clash's first shows they ever did in North America.
Oh, nice.
The opening act, Bo Diddley.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you know, punk rock had just taken off, and people like, who the hell is this old black guy? And if you would speak to the Clash, they would get down on their knees and bow to the Bo Diddleys.
Strummer was probably stoked.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, that's what's so amazing. A lot of people revere these British bands as like the end all, and then you talk to them, and they're like, no, all our favorites were the American guys.
Yeah.
You know, even going to the Beatles and the Stones and all those guys.
Yeah. They always liked American blues.
Yeah, it kind of makes you proud that, you know, our music really formed a foundation around the world for this rock and roll stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Absolutely.
So what's up next? What do you guys got cooking for the next chapter of Lesson J?
We go on tour in Europe in the fall, and then we're going to do another U.S. tour in the new year with a band yet to be named, but it was a band that was on Warped Tour with us. And probably record somewhere in there, maybe make a record, and then I don't know, we'll see what the future holds after that. But we're not going anywhere. We're not stopping or slowing down. So
for artists that have never toured Europe before, how do you kind of school them? We know, you know, fans are fans, but there's still differences, obviously. What do you kind of prep a band on their first European tour?
Yeah, it's just pack sriracha and maybe buy an ice machine. That's a good idea, you know. So ice is kind of a thing that they don't have, you know. So
it's kind of important to kind of get to know some of the cultures, you know. I know, you know, they think the Americans sometimes just kind of go over and assume the world revolves around us. But, you know, the French and the German, the Italians, they're very proud of their history, their heritage.
Oh yeah, you just have to be humble and realize that you're a visitor. That's all. That's the easiest thing. It should be the easiest thing. Just act like you're not an asshole. Yeah. But for some Americans, it's difficult.
There's so much to enjoy, so much history. You know, our country seems brand new when you start looking at these 1,000-year-old Colosseums in Italy, or, you know, a lot of these old castles and stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, the history is much richer there than here.
Yeah. Sure. So in closing, what advice do you have just in general for bands? Because I know a lot of the young bands get together and they think they're going to be rich and famous tomorrow, and, you know, the money's just going to flow in like a shower. But what do you school them to, you know, really enjoy the whole journey of this?
Just quit now, I say. Sell me all your gear. Yeah, I'll buy your gear cheap. It'll, you know, save you a lot of heartbreak. And I don't know, I think it's the only advice I have is don't be afraid to fail or fuck up. because the greatest successes have always been the biggest failures at times, you know.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's always afraid to take a chance.
Yeah.
But take a chance, because if you're not willing to take a chance on yourself, who the fuck's gonna want to take a chance on you?
Sometimes you got to go out on that tiny limb, you know, just to stand out.
The most successful people I know in my life are people that gambled on themselves.